30 Minutes with Ron. Hello, my name's Ron Gagliardi. I'm the host of 30 Minutes with Ron, and we have a guest tonight that you won't believe. She is so powerful. Welcome, Judy Villa.
Thank you. What an introduction. A guest you won't believe. There's some real pun there, as you are famous for. What would you like to know? I am here to tell you that I'm the current chairperson of the Cheshire Democratic Town Committee.
Okay.
It's been my privilege to have that position for the last close to 3 years. And before that, I was vice chair for, we're trying to remember, about 10 years. We're not sure. But the way I became involved was once upon a time, many years ago. Mm-hmm. I was very involved with PTAs and PTOs and probably was president of all the different PTAs, Norton, and then Dodd, and then Cheshire High School, and then townwide.
What a leader.
And I used to, and I used to go to almost all the Board of Ed members' meetings, and one day the members said, why don't you run for the Board of Ed, because you're at all our meetings anyway. So I did, and I actually ran as a Republican because a very wise person said, if you want to be elected in this town, you should be a Republican. What did I know? And then, after I served on the board for 4 years, I found out that that was not a good match for my proclivities and the social issues that I was concerned about and the education issues I was concerned about. So I registered as a Democrat, which I encourage everyone to do.
Of course.
And I did run for town council. I was asked, and I did run, and I served for 6 years. And
what years?
That was 95 to 2001, back in the day.
Oh, way back there.
Back in the day. We just had stone tablets, you know.
Yeah, heavy.
Yeah, right. And so I'm very proud of Cheshire Democratic Town Committee. We have a fantastic group of people. For those who are not familiar, we are the guts and the strength of the Democratic Party in the community. And we actually have 40 regular members, and then we have some irregular members who are, we have 18 ex officio members who still have the right to vote, but they are ex officio, and they become members by virtue of having been elected to a town position, like Board of Ed, Planning and Zoning, Town Council. And then we have 3 new emeritus members. So we have now a total of 61 active members. And our purpose and our bylaws tell everyone that we represent democratic principles, we care deeply about democratic issues. We have the challenge of recruiting and endorsing and getting elected excellent people to represent us. Mm-hmm. And that's at the town level, the state level, and of course nationally. We're very proud of our legislators that we managed to get in, and we're extremely happy with Chris Murphy and with Dick Blumenthal and with Johanna Hayes and with Liz Lenahan, and we've had some stellar people representing us. And then locally, we just had a difficult election, as everyone knows, but we're still there. We're the loyal opposition, and we will not give up. And in 2020, we're out there in force. We have lots of people contacting our website, www. I know you're not supposed to say the www part.
It's
but,
okay.
It's CheshireDemSingular.org. And that's our website, which is maintained by Harold Kramer and our communications team on Town Committee. It's a fabulous website. Tells you everything you want to know about what we're up to and whom we're supporting and what causes we're working on. So I would encourage people to look at our website. If you haven't seen it, I think you'll be impressed. So what else would you like to know?
Well, you've just answered every question that I
Every
was going
question,
to,
so we're
we might as
finished.
well just wrap up.
Okay, there you
no,
go.
We'll figure out something.
Our meetings are the first Tuesday of every month in the Senior Center. And we begin at 7 o'clock, and we're usually out by 9. Sometimes we do have guest speakers. Last month we had a contingent from the Blumenthal campaign.
Yeah.
In the past, we've had Bernie Sanders' group come and speak to us. Of course, we're a small state with not a lot of electoral votes, but sometimes we do manage to get the big shots to come and speak to us. We have been extremely fortunate when we were 2 years ago running state people, and we had many people who were running for state legislature and for the constitutional offices,
Yes.
as well as congresspeople, and we are always fortunate that our U.S. senators make time for us.
We do have a new state rep, right? A state senator rep.
Mary Abrams
Yes.
is running for re-election, and
Right at the top of it.
we are very proud to have her serving in the 13th. Liz Linehan is running for re-election in the 89th, and I'm sorry, in the 103rd.
Aha.
We are looking for outstanding people who are thinking about the 89th and also the 90th and also the 16th senatorial. I hear rumblings of people who are coming forward, so that's a good thing. Definitely a good thing. So what else can I tell you? We had a very strong, what we thought was a very strong platform during the local election. Our candidates, of course, were going door to door, and they were doing podcasts, and they were being interviewed in short videos, and they were doing a tremendous amount of work, as we all were on town committee, to try to get the message out. The policy committee and the candidates worked on a strong platform of strategic planning for the community and school modernization and economic development and accountability. And I think that what happened to us partially was we had some absolutely fabulous candidates, but they didn't have strong name recognition because they were relatively new.
Yep.
We say we're in a building year for local candidates, kind of like sports teams. You know, you have these fabulous people, and then they move along, and then you have newcomers, and people need to become familiar with them before they're ready to throw their support when it comes to an election.
Right. Well, it helps if you have a little name recognition beyond public Democrat type stuff, like Jim Jinks. He's our new council person.
Absolutely. I think that Jim proved himself as an advocate for the community, whether people who are Democrats, Republicans, unaffiliated, they could see how hard he was working for Bike Cheshire, for safety, to get us name recognition and to participate in larger events that involved children, involved take your bike to school, walk more, use the trails. He really had many avenues, no pun intended, that people really resonated. His message resonated with them. So I know that was a great victory for him and for us, and we're very proud of him. So.
And of course, Peter Talbot is still on the council.
Peter Talbot, he's like the Energizer Bunny. You know, he just keeps on. He keeps on. He did great service on the Board of Ed and now on the council. It's not easy when you have a council of 9 people and you have a very small minority. But we're in there, and I think that there's a real effort on the part of the Democrats to contribute and not to go away, not to back down.
Right.
and so forth.
Well, we're in the house that Peter Talbot built. This is Cox Communication. He's been here forever.
Yeah.
And in the area of full disclosure, I am a member of the Democratic Town Committee, but I think I'm ex officio now because I've been on and off for a long time.
You've been off for a long time.
I've been off for a long time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I was actually a minority member of the town council way back in the 80s. This is a fun story. I thought I held the record for running for council the most time and losing. I ran 6 times, some years in between, and I lost all 6 times. But one time, the second time I ran, I think, back in the 80s, I was the Democratic vote getter on the at-large ticket area with the largest amount of votes. And so on our charter at the time, you'd had to have a minority representation. You had to have 2 of the 9.
Right.
Only one Democrat had one on her own. And so I got to be on the council, and a poor Republican had to leave the council. It was an interesting 2 years. No one listened to me, including my fellow Democrat, but it was interesting. So that's the full disclosure part. So now.
So you've been there.
I've been there, done that.
Yes.
So now we're in the situation where you are no longer going to be the chair of the Democratic Town Committee.
That's true.
What will you miss the most, and what will you miss the least?
Okay, so I have to say that after I had was fortunate enough to be elected to the town council 3 times to represent the 4th district. Yay, 4th district!
Yay.
I decided that I wasn't as effective as I wanted to be on the council, and so I thought it was time to move over. And of course, people were very flattering and said, "Oh, you should run again. You don't want to give up the seat," and so forth. But I said, I think it's time for me to, instead of being the queen, I think it's time to be a king and queen maker. So I was already on Democratic Town Committee, and that was 2001, and I chose not to run again. And I said, I will throw myself on the sword and I'll be the campaign manager for the Democrats. And I did that, and it was a very satisfying year.
Yep.
We took the majority of the council for the first time in years.
Oh,
Yeah,
forever.
Forever.
Yeah, first time, yeah.
So it was very, very exciting for us, and we had some great people. And so I've been involved in all kinds of aspects of Democratic Town Committee, campaign and helping with communications. Because I'm a retired English professor, I always said, before we publish anything or put it out in public, how about if I try my hand at a little bit of editing? So I've done that.
Where were you a professor at?
Quinnipiac University.
All right, QU.
25 years. Very proud of my time there. And so now that I've been on town committee for about 22 years, I'm still going to stay on town committee because I'm very committed to our democratic values, and I want to work very hard in 2020 to have a Democratic president. Why would I say that in public? And so I thought it was time to move over and allow new leadership to come forward and maybe take us in some stronger directions and new avenues. I think we have some fabulous people on town committee who volunteer hours and hours and hours of their time doing public relations, creating videos, creating ads, doing podcasts. Back in the day, we, Democratic Town Committee, produced a show here called Spotlight on Cheshire.
Yep.
And we used to have guests who came and talked about their service to the community, whether it was an elected office, an appointed board or commission person, or somebody who was doing great things for the good of the community. And of course, we tried to showcase some of our wonderful Democrats, especially around election time. We made sure that we had roundtables at which they could talk about their hopes and dreams for the community. But I think it's time to move on, and let new blood come in.
New blood.
Having said that, I think there's tremendous power in institutional memory, and people who've been on town committee like you and like me and some of the others who can serve as mentors and give historical perspective when someone comes up and says, let's try this, and we say, well, we did that 15 years ago, it didn't work well, but now might be the time.
Right.
So I think it's a wonderful mix of people who have experience, people who are new, people who are returning after a hiatus because of work or family commitments. We have some really great people, and I think they're going to move us forward in even stronger ways than we've done before. So, was that your question?
No.
No. Okay. So what am I going to miss?
Yes.
And what am I going to not miss?
Right, there you go. All right.
Well, it sounds like a cliche, but I will absolutely miss working with some fabulous people who really got down into the dirt and did everything they were ever asked to do, no matter what it was.
The good earth, though.
The good earth,
Yes.
yeah. They just worked so hard, and they brought their talents in a variety of fields, public relations and managing a television station and being a person who understood political ramifications because of working for the state or working for legislators. Right. People who were in the arts and people who are in the medical field and social work. And so many people, even though they had demanding jobs, would come to meetings, be contributors, be bright-eyed, be thinking all the time. Let's look at other ways of doing this. Let's look at collaboration. Let's look at getting people interested in us. Let's even, get as many people recruited from unaffiliates who think that they are closet Republicans, but maybe they're really closet Democrats.
Maybe.
And so I really have enjoyed that camaraderie, and I hope it'll continue.
Yeah, you'll still have a little bit.
I'll still be there. I'll be in the back of the room playing on my phone. No, I won't do that ever.
Never.
What I don't miss some of the difficulties of getting the message out. I think we all know we live in a time of people trying to discern what's real, what's not real, what's truth, what's fake news. My anxiety is rising, say people, so I can't watch TV anymore because it's too upsetting. I can't watch the news. I can't watch any of the news channels, whether it's Fox or it's CNN or it's MSNBC or it's the regular nightly news. I just can't do it anymore because my doctor is raising my blood pressure medicine, Yeah. And so it worries me that people have turned away saying, can't trust politicians and all politicians lie and you can't tell the truth from the lies. And I, as part of my profession, when I was teaching freshmen how to write convincing arguments in their Quinnipiac University classes, and I worked really hard to talk to them about critical thinking and building your opinions on your critical thinking skills. And I think most teachers are trying desperately to do that for young people. Mm-hmm. And we need to go back to that and work on that for adults as well. And I think I will not miss the levels of anger and vituperativeness. How's that for a word?
Whoa, you don't hear that word on this show
no,
that
you
often.
don't.
No.
I don't like that, and I especially don't like personal attacks. I think you can have a meaningful conversation and you can argue your beliefs and you can argue your truths, but I think when it devolves into personal attacks, I really dislike that, mm-hmm. and I hope that we can learn from our mistakes and not do that as much. It's hard. It's very hard because we have extremely polarized feelings and beliefs, and somewhere in the middle is reality. So There you go.
Okay. Now, also watching from the outside, it seemed to me that Democratic chairpersons, actually any chairperson of any political group, must have a lot of meetings to go to, not only local but statewide, and must have a lot of expenses of all these places that you have to pay to be in. What was that like for you?
Actually speaking, I have gone to some of the Democratic State Central events at which we honor different people. Some of those $250 a plate dinners I did not manage to go to. I'm also very active in Cheshire Democratic Women's Club.
I was going to bring that up. Good.
I've been president of that organization for 4 years. I've been secretary of that organization for 4 years. And as I became more and more aware of the general membership of Women's Club, Democratic Women's Club. In the state, there's a Connecticut Federation of Democratic Women, and we have chapters all over the state. And Cheshire just hosted the Connecticut Federation meeting this past Saturday. So, we had members from other communities, Groton and East Hartford and so on, so on, so on. So I am now secretary of that organization.
Oh, geez, another leadership position.
And I am the resolutions chair for the National Federation of Democratic Women, which has well over 30 state member chapters.
Yeah.
And so as resolutions chair of that group, I send out notices to all the chairs of all the chapters across the country and Puerto Rico, which is a member chapter, and say, what are the resolutions you would like us to pass at a national convention that we have every June? And then those resolutions that are passed by the National Federation of Democratic Women go to the DNC, Congress, and they are then housed in the Library of Congress. So we're proud of, especially proud of Connecticut Federation of Democratic Women bringing forward legislation on gun safety and gun violence, which came to the National Federation and were adopted and then brought to Congress. So I'm very proud of those. Those were the conventions that cost a little bit, because you go, you're there for a few days. Yeah. Interestingly, those conventions seem to be places like Arizona or Carolina in June. So we have had one in the Northeast, a couple in the Northeast, Atlantic City for one, and last year we were in Albany. So in Cheshire, we have a very wonderful symbiotic relationship between Cheshire Democratic Town Committee and Cheshire Democratic Women's Club. A lot of people, many people are in both organizations.
I was in the Democratic Women's Club.
I know, and we actually have had a few men in the Democratic Women's Club.
Yep.
We don't discriminate at all.
That's right, yeah.
So I think I answered your question. I'm not sure.
I think you did.
I wanted people to know that we are going to have a primary April 28th, and that you can go to the registrar's website. I was just talking to the registrar, both registrars this past week, and Tom Smith, the Democratic registrar, who's going to run again, was saying that people should check out the town registrar's website because it has all the dates of upcoming primaries and qualification times and when you can no longer register and so forth. So people who are in the know go to the registrar's site and they find out when they can do what. And then, of course, there's state convention and all kinds of good things. We have a lot of conventions coming up.
We're so conventional.
Yes, we are.
Yes, of
and
course.
So April and May we'll have conventions for our delegates to go to nominate and endorse the 13th senatorial person and the 16th senatorial person and the representatives for the 89th, the 90th, the 103rd. And this is the year to do Justices of the Peace. Well, and I know that you want to do that again.
Yes.
And it's interesting. Justices of the Peace are actually political appointments people have to present themselves either to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party in order to be endorsed as a justice of the peace, and then you get your swearing in at the town clerk, and you get your little manual of what to do.
Yep. And we can marry people.
Yes.
Yes, I've married a few people.
I did too. I can't remember how many now, but probably a dozen over the last several years. So that's a wonderful, wonderful little side avocation.
It is it's a good feeling to send someone on their way to becoming a even better couple than they had been.
I will say that I have some very serious concerns about the School Modernization Committee. Anxious to see it move forward, anxious that the subcommittees who are visiting our schools and the subcommittee visiting other towns' schools in order to create a large picture for themselves and the elected bodies and the community. I hope that they are successful in doing their research. I'm rather disappointed that the research that was done 3 years ago really didn't pan out. And too many people say, oh, I had no idea. I go to DOT, I had no idea things were in this condition. Well, we did, and we looked.
Yeah, we tried.
And we tried. So that's one of my things.
And there was something you brought up the other night at the meeting where there's a way to get people onto committees and commissions, and there's rules.
There are very significant rules in the town charter, which comports with state statute. And in order to be appointed to a board or commission, again, you have to go through either Republican Town Committee or Democratic Town Committee. And if you ever look at the town website, you will see that because the town council is controlled by the Republicans, they have a majority, and they get the majority representation on
normal.
Beautification, on public building, on Cheshire Arts. You know, to me, it's lopsided.
Right.
And we even appoint unaffiliates.
We do. And I have to cut you off a little bit
Yes,
because
sir.
we're running toward like our last minute.
Okay.
I wanted you to be able to bring up someone named Frank Villa.
Frank Villa is, to coin a phrase, the wind beneath my wings. When I was an elected person, and all the meetings that I've gone to over the many years for town committee and outside in the state and nationally, he was always there to help me, to support me, to take care of kids when they were little. They're not so little anymore. And also, he was really our first publisher of all of the bylaws and all of the announcements, because I was computer illiterate. I'm a little better now, but he really was always there. He's the man.
I want to make sure that I didn't vilify Judy Villa. I had to work that one in someplace. I had to work that.
Pun and crimishment.
Thanks for tuning in. And that's the story from this wonderful desk.